Hello and welcome to the Bellingham Real Estate Podcast. I'm Paul Balzotti. I'm here with Alicia Jansen-Pennington.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us, Alicia. You've been a realtor for several years, and you are a expert in the world of storage condos and the whole industrial world. And that's the subject of today, is talking storage condos, industrial, commercial land, developing, investing in that whole world.
Yeah.
And so getting right into it, share with everybody or anybody who's listening, a couple of things maybe you've sold and your family background, because I know you've sold property in this world, but also your family's in the business.
Yeah. Well, we were raised by my dad. My dad has raised all of us kids and kind of branched out in one way or another in that industry of, civil construction development of all kinds and sorts. So, I've sold a lot of industrial land, listed a lot of industrial land, worked in that field. I was raised around that, and actually even worked on projects when I was younger.
Yeah, and your dad...
Roller operator extraordinaire.
Oh, nice. And your dad, by the way, how old's your dad?
98.
98, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
So awesome.
He'll be 99 in September.
Yeah.
So we're hanging on.
I love it. I love it. And so you've sold land and office industrial buildings, essentially. What would you call those?
I've sold urban office buildings. Also, I've worked a lot with the development processes of, converting those sales from land into the building up from there.
Yeah, and we want to touch on your family's invested in a project that you're selling, that you're listing. We'll cover that. But in this whole subject of industrial parks, storage condos, there is the world of developing industrial and storage units. There's building these for office space, right? And then there's also individual storage units that buyers buy individually. Before we get into the projects that you're working on and you've invested in, I want to talk about individual storage units. Right. So talk to everybody about different types of individual storage condos in Whatcom County that are bought and sold.
Well, there are lots of types. You have your nicer high-end ones that are in the urban limits that are, climate controlled and have that kind of more modern vibe. There's just regular self-storage. Those are not climate controlled. And we have also specialty storage, which specialty vehicle storage, really. Housing boats, motorcycles, RVs, that kind of thing. And so, they kind of limit. As you go out into the county more, you're going to see probably more of those.
Yeah.
Types of storage.
And when you get into the first types, the storage units that are, climate controlled, things like that, you see bathrooms in that a lot. You'll see kind of man cave type setups. What can you do in those, and what can't you? What kind of uses do you have for those that you can? What are the bylaws related to the storage units?
You always have those guys that are gonna, my husband being one of them back in the day, having their band practice in a storage unit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that legally. Washington State does not allow any kind of livestock, including humans, animals, or anything to reside or live in storage units. But they are used for all kinds of sources.
Yeah.
People are in need of them. When you're packing, moving in this residential real estate, it's...
Yeah.
We have clients all the time that are, I need storage, transitional periods, but you see it also in the commercial and industrial world as well. There's different types of storage that is really needed.
Yeah, and so if you're an individual buyer and you're right, there's definitely options as far as lower priced, kind of more simple storage units you could buy, or higher end, heated controlled with, mezzanines and bathrooms and the whole thing. A lot of man cave type setups. What is the financing options for that? Because you can't just go with a residential home. We can go 0 down, 3% down FHA. What are the financing options for a storage unit?
They're mostly looked at as small business loan opportunities. So, because you are going to be bringing in an income if you're going to purchase one and rent it back out. So an SBA loan is an option. And, the bigger you get, those loans change. So, but for smaller ones, SBA loan is the most common.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're basically looking at if SBA is the only loan, commercial loans, I would bet that you also have a lot of people that would, because SBA loans typically are 25, 30% down. The rates are typically higher. And so, another option probably is like a home equity line or something like that. And then you're paying cash.
Exactly.
But if you want a loan, okay, so it's commercial loans only.
Or mortgage backed loans are used, I think, sometimes too as well.
Yeah. And then going from the individual storage units, and there's a lot of variety here in Whatcom County, to the bigger industrial parks. So your family's has been involved in several projects, clearly. And talk to us about what that looks like when you're investing in a project like that. Is it purely is it typically for businesses or more just for storage or either or both? What are the options as far as like the development side of storage units in industrial parks?
Financing options, when you're building from the ground up the entire facility, you're going to be looking at, a lot of times people will use life loan type scenarios.
What's that mean?
The life loans are, they're designed specifically for large commercial building and production. Moving up in there, basically have a $2 million limit. And so they go that way. Otherwise, a lot of people are using a combination of those financing options along with private, silent investors, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more that goes into it when you're, first you're going to tie down the land and then you're budgeting up from there.
So why would you want to develop or invest in a storage facility rather than residential per se?
Well, if you're looking for an amazing ROI, return on your income, there's very little overhead, and it doesn't require a lot of, jobs and that kind of thing. And the storage units that we are building are, it's not just going to be self-storage. They're also going to have their smartphone access. So people can basically have their own security all built into their units with their phone. So
you wouldn't necessarily need a security, because obviously some of the storage facilities, you have kind of a person on duty, or in some cases, I guess that's more of a, some do, right?
A lot do. And it's not that there may not be, there's always a maintenance person, somebody like that, but there's new technology now that you have smart access to your own facilities. A lot of them that you'll see around Whatcom County, especially, you have an electric gate access. You drive in, you got your key or your remote, that kind of thing. So this is kind of a cool, new, innovative way to be able to operate and manage things.
Yeah.
Low cost. And, you think about the return on investment in that sense. Once it's filled at full capacity and 100% occupancy, it's a great investment.
So you're looking at maybe, are you talking more like, so with residential apartments, on average, most of the properties are going for 5 to 6% cap rate. Would you say with industrial, it's averaging higher, 8, 9, 10% kind of thing? Or what are the rates you could be looking at for cash flow? I'm sure for yours, if they're brand new, that you'd be listing, maybe they're lower cap rate. But is it generally just a couple percentage higher than, say, apartment buildings?
It is. I mean, when you think about apartment buildings, you also have a lot of maintenance records. You've got a lot of human beings you're dealing with,
Yeah.
You've got your internet, you have all of these income out, income in happening with these industrial type situations like the storage facility. You really have low income going out, more income coming in. They're easy management and,
Yeah. So basically lower maintenance is the main thing. So it's kind of like less hassle, lower maintenance, You're basically, the building is more simple and how it was constructed. And basically once you're renting them, you're right. There's less hassle all around.
Yeah.
Would you say that if you're managing a facility like that, what's the percentage of, like with apartments, you're going to do 1-year leases almost always? With most of these storage facilities, are they doing month to month, or are they mainly doing year contracts, 6-month contracts, just like residential?
We're seeing a lot of like 6-month to a year contracts, some do have month to month.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, those are a little bit less predictable when you set it up that way. It's nice to kind of fill your occupancy and have it just be steady. The facilities that we're building and designing, my brother Grant had kind of come up with a lot of the concept, and they're going to be a lot more modern, contemporary. You see a lot of the storage facilities, they just look like, a yard with big containers.
Yeah.
So this is going to, it's a little different take on it, having a mix of self-storage along with boat and RV and, covered parking. Some have uncovered parking,
So the bigger project that you've referenced a couple of times that you're listing, just real quickly, let's plug that.
Yeah.
So what do we have out there?
At the I-5 Industrial Center off Grandview, we've broken ground on our first locked storage that is going up. And it's going to be a mix of self-storage along with RV, boat storage, all smart access, really, slick, modern, contemporary design, which, we have some imagery to share. So that's going to be listed out there. Some land, it's a development that my dad developed years ago. And we've all had businesses out there, all my siblings, and we held on to one of the properties, and it's right on the I-5 corridor, close to the border. So it's kind of a great first launch and a great access point for something like storage. Easy in and out right off I-5 with a 360-degree road that turns around. Big trucks, RVs, boats can easily maneuver in there.
And that's going to be, that's going to be what, an 11, 12, 13 million, something like that range?
12 and a half to 14.
Okay. And that's how many storage units? I mean,
that's for an entire storage facility.
An entire development.
It's obviously a larger investment.
Substantial.
Yeah. And obviously, you have a lot of buyers out there for that in some areas and maybe not. So
yeah. So if you invest in storage units, whether you invest in an entire project, like what you guys are listing, or an individual storage unit, and then you rent that instead of, if it's not just for yourself, maybe you end up, the nice thing is if somebody doesn't pay their rent, normally with like an apartment or a condo or a house, if somebody doesn't pay their rent, with all of the rules around personal property and things like that, you're evicting them, you're dealing with all that. Yeah. With a storage unit, once they haven't paid the rent for a certain amount of time, you get to auction off, what's in the unit, like that TV show on, I don't remember the name, Storage Wars, or I don't know what the show is. Yeah. And maybe you can strike gold with that if you buy and invest in these. So
a little added extra bonus of profit.
Yeah. If the worst case scenario is
case scenario,
yeah. So the last thing I want to touch on is land. So if somebody's interested in building their own storage unit or storage or building any sort of storage unit or industrial development for investment purposes, what can you share with us on that?
Well, what's really exciting about this whole process that I've been in and working with my family and my brother, on these projects is there's this amazing team of guys that have introduced me to all kinds of new and upcoming algorithm technology. There's a lot more that goes into that when you're looking for, the right property. We have now software that we research as far as, the net rentable income for that area, the square foot per capita, and all of these factors play a role into where you're going to get your best ROI, return on investment, per the area. Where is the best place to actually build per, whether it be an industrial or commercial space. And so now, we have a lot of access to that, and being able to really nail down the right property that's going to bring the best and highest use of business and consumers to that area per its entire location, demographics, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So like everything from like, what's the competition to, okay, in this location, it would make more sense to do more RV and boat parking versus, mezzanine, bigger storage units, kind of analyzing every element of that, and then what your construction costs could be in order to still make it pencil out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And also, it allows you to really plan the entire process. And, also some areas are going to be very much, especially in urban, Seattle areas, are going to be very zoned towards, we're more interested in producing jobs for people in this area. So they're not going to want, it's going to be a lot harder to break ground for a storage facility in that kind of place.
That makes sense. They're going to be more interested in more commercial uses, like true commercial uses, and not just
providing jobs that will provide jobs.
Absolutely. That makes sense. So you got to find, even if it's zoned that way, the county or city may not be specifically very friendly about wanting to help you maximize the space. That makes sense.
So these ratios also play a role into that best scenario outcome of, okay, now we got to meet with the city and get that approval,
Yeah, absolutely.
So whether it's worth the time that it takes to do that or move on to the next. So
I love it. Okay, so whether you're interested in just a storage unit or developing, or maybe even investing in a major project like the one you are listing, you can reach out to Alicia. Thank you for joining us, Alicia. Thank you for watching or listening, you guys. Cheers.
All right, thanks.